Hello and welcome to Kiosk Toronto. I'm David Grossman. It's good to be back here again on Kiosk Toronto. We have a great lineup of guests for you today. First up, we have Gila Martow. Gila, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David.
Great to have you here. Gila is the president of the Beverly Glen Ratepayers Association.
That's right.
You have many other credits to your names and things that you do. You're a person of many talents and involvements. But the Ratepayers Association is what we want to talk about today.
Right, that's correct. That's our focus, Ratepayers Associations, and I thought we can also talk a little bit about municipal committees.
Okay.
I thought I would first explain what a Ratepayers Association is.
Good idea.
People hear the term a lot, and they read in the newspaper, and they, you know.
Yeah, well, I got to be honest, I didn't quite know exactly what it was. I started doing my research, but it looks interesting. There's a lot of politics involved in these.
A lot of politics in my life.
Yeah.
I'm also president of the Thornhill PC Riding Association. So it's an election coming up.
Which is
Progressive Conservative Provincial. So Thornhill riding, it's the same federally and provincially. It's the same riding boundaries.
Right.
So now we're going to be having a provincial election October 6th. So I hope everybody's ready. And but let's focus on Ratepayers Association. A ratepayer is anybody who pays municipal taxes is considered a ratepayer. So it's an association. Basically, there are boundaries set out by the cities. I believe Ward 5, which is what I live in, Vaughan, has quite a few ratepayers associations, but there's quite a lot of neighborhoods that don't have them set up yet. They have to be set up with the city. They have to have a constitution. They have to have elections with elected representatives on their executive. It's quite a formal project that involves quite a bit of protocol. So just like anything else in politics, it's a lot of protocol and a lot of organization, but doesn't cost anything. Our Ratepayers Association is called the Beverly Glen Ratepayers Association, and the boundaries are Dufferin, Highway 407 to the north, comes down Bathurst, along New Westminster, and across Centre Street to Dufferin. So that's our boundaries for our Ratepayers Association. And our city councilor right now is Alan Sheffman. And we represent that neighborhood for issues. So instead of each resident having to apply to the city councilor if they have some concerns or something they want to find out about, it's a stronger voice because we combine ourselves. Are
you an elected body? Or?
Yes, we had elections at the Garnet Community Center just a few months ago. And we have 8 people on our executive, and we meet every month or two, depending on people's schedules. And we have quite a few issues that we've spoken to the city about and concerns. And what it comes down to in terms of ratepayers associations and wards within cities and cities themselves, and even all the elected representatives, we have an extra layer. We have York Region, Toronto. Got mid of Metro, but we still have York Region. So we have a lot of representatives in a lot of different layers. And what it all comes down to is everybody has their interests and their needs. And you can't put everything, to please one group of people. We have to look at everybody's interests, everybody's needs. And I definitely believe in the common good, that we have to do what's good for the entire community, not just our little neighborhood. But on the other hand, the residents are the ones paying the taxes, they're paying the salaries, and I often feel that the elected officials are ignoring the interests of the residents who actually pay their salaries in favor of a lot of outside interests. We have an issue that's going to be coming up that I think affects a lot of people in Toronto and York Region, and that's gridlock. What are we going to do?
How do we deal with that?
What are we going to do about gridlock? Well, the way York Region is dealing with it is they're designing HOV bus-only lanes and a whole system, a network, basically a Viva network.
High occupancy vehicle.
Right, but it's the Viva buses to have their route from Markham, and we've already seen it on Dufferin. They've completed that project. Of course, it's a total bottleneck at Steeles because they didn't seem to be able to get Toronto to be part of the project.
But there are some areas in Toronto, like they've implemented this on the 404 and Dufferin, I think further up, going south toward,
Not necessarily for the Viva bus route. This is a specific Viva bus route from Markham, coming all the way to Dufferin, coming along Highway 7.
So it's to resolve gridlock in the York
Well,
region?
You know, they say it's to resolve gridlock, but in actual fact, their idea of resolving gridlock is to get more people to take buses. Buses are on the roads, so they're creating gridlock themselves. So if we could get the subway, I'm a strong proponent for the subway up Yonge Street, and that's what I'm going to be discussing next week, actually.
So you're not in favor of these HOV lanes
I'm in
for
favor when they're needed, but I think that we have to first realize that, you know, they're planning to dig up on Bathurst and build it, and also on Center Street between Bathurst and Dufferin, and build an HOV lane, and it's going to cause a lot of havoc for the cars, because it's taking away one of the lanes for the cars. There's a middle left
during
turn
the
lane
construction period?
Not just during the construction period. That HOV lane is going to be the middle left turn lane on Dufferin between Bathurst.
Okay, so they're not building more lanes, they're just going to convert existing
Well,
lanes.
it's a middle left turn lane, but that left turn lane keeps the cars from blocking.
Right.
I don't love it because it means during the construction it's a huge mess. And after the construction, I'm worried it's going to be another St. Clair fiasco. Personally, the businesses are very leery of it. And what I would suggest is let's first synchronize the traffic lights. The traffic lights, I don't know when the last time you drove.
Well, that sounds like an easy one.
It's a very easy one.
Yeah.
It doesn't create.
Are they not synchronized? I mean, what?
Completely not
How?
synchronized.
Well, is there a reason for that? I mean,
It costs a lot of money to properly synchronize.
to synchronize traffic lights?
To synchronize it properly, it does cost money and it's ongoing maintenance.
So it would sound to be like cheaper than making HOV lanes, but
Well, I would think so, but, you know, I've been asking the city for a while at different, you know, different times, different people, but to the elected officials, and everybody goes, yeah, that's something we have to work on. But I just feel, stop talking and let's just do it. Let's pick one street each year, let's synchronize the traffic lights. If we don't, I agree that it's very expensive to take all of York Region and synchronize all the traffic lights, but we can start with Dufferin or Bathurst or Yonge Street.
I don't know why it's expensive. Is it not just a programming
It's a
issue?
computer
I
program.
mean,
You'd have to basically, these traffic signals would have to be wired to the internet. That's the way it's done now in Europe, and in fact, in Israel has a very good system for synchronizing traffic lights, where if you're on a road like, say, Highway 7, if you're on Highway 7 and waiting at a red light,
yes.
as soon as it turns green, a number will flash that'll tell you what speed you should go in order to just hit the green when you get to the next light. So you shouldn't go too fast and have to sit at a red light. That's a waste of gas. We all know
Right.
that. But you don't want to go too slow and miss the next green light, which is why a lot of people go very quickly. They're worried that they're going to miss the green. So the little number flashes, just like we have now, you know, 10, 9, 8 for the people to walk. There's all this technology out there. There's small cities in Europe that have incredible systems for synchronizing the traffic lights, and here we are in this huge metropolis of
Yeah, it seems to me to be the way to go before starting with construction.
Well, back to the ratepayers associations, I feel it's up to the ratepayers associations to push for these kind of things. And
Right, so
it's been
people
very
need to get
effective.
involved
That's
because, well, so you're saying no matter where anybody lives, there's a ratepayer association.
Well, there either is a ratepayers association set up, or there should be one set up. And what I'm appealing to people is, if there isn't one set up, all you have to do is ask your city and say, this is my address. Is there a ratepayers association set up? Who's the contact person?
So this is an
Or-
alternative to going directly to your counselor with your feedback.
Well, right, because every person on their own goes, and it's been my experience at times speaking to city councilors where they tell me, oh, you're the first person to complain about that. But then I'll happen to speak to some random person, you know, out on the street, and they'll say, oh, I also complained about that.
Right.
So I think that's kind of a bit of a, you know, bit of a farce that, you know, elected officials sometimes do, is they say, oh, well, you're the only person noticing that, or you're the only person having a problem with, you know, kids hanging out in the parks, or egging your house, or whatever. You know, I've heard quite a few complaints from people about those kind of things. And when you have a group together that can communicate, and it's so easy now, through websites, through emails, through Facebook groups. I have a Facebook group set up called Ward 5 Vaughan Residents Stay Connected, and people can look for me under my name on Facebook, and then I can get them onto the group. They can look for me on Twitter under Gila Joy, because Gila actually means joy, so that's why. It's not my middle name.
Okay.
And people have to just, all they have to do is get their name and their email on, and they're right away, they're on a bulletin. Every 3 months, a bulletin might go out on issues in the neighborhood. They can We're just setting up, because we're a new Ratepayers Association, we're setting up, it'll be Beverly Glen RA for ratepayersassociation.com, setting up a website. So we really want to be able to communicate with the residents. I think that some areas people push and they get beautiful flowers. I think you've driven around, you know, in your neighborhood enough to notice that why some streets there's beautiful landscaping at the main corners and
Right.
pots of flowers, and then other areas, you know, you drive for blocks and you don't see a flower. Well, all I can say to people is those are the people who are involved. You can almost tell where there's a Ratepayers Association,
Right.
association set up, because things are taken care of, the parks are taken care of.
Right. So people can either get involved with their Ratepayers Association, or if there isn't one, they
Create
could
one.
possibly
And
start
I'm
one to have
happy to help
a
people
voice.
I'm happy to help
So they
people
can
on
either
that.
call their city or they can talk to you, and you can give them some tips on doing it because you've been through it before. Do we have your contact information or website for Gila on the screen? Dr. Gila Martow. Lots that we can talk to you about. I hope you'll come back sometime and talk to us about some of the
Absolutely.
other things that you're working on, conservative government issues and politics and so on. And Gila is, I should mention, is going to be having her own pilot episode on May 12th. You're going to have Peter Sherman here,
Right, my
who's the
good friend
current
Peter
member of Provincial Parliament
That's
in
right.
Thornhill. He's a conservative.
Right.
And
former radio host, so
Right.
I'm counting on him to help me out. But he's actually a fun guy with a booming voice, and we're going to be discussing our efforts to push for an expansion of the Yonge Street subway, which, you know, it's not as easy as people think. They think, you know, just dig a hole in the ground and bring the subway a little further. It can't. That subway line is actually at capacity, and we'd have to look at other options in terms of expanding it. So that's what we're going to be discussing next week on Thursday again on Kiosk
Excellent.
Toronto, and I really appreciate you inviting me. And politics is fun. That's what I say to people. Every level of politics, get involved.
yes.
I don't like when people say you don't have the right to complain if you don't get involved or don't vote. That's not true. Everybody can complain all
Nothing
they
wrong
want,
with complaining.
and I'm here. Complain to me. I'm happy to hear about it.
Okay, Gila wants to hear your complaints. Somebody made the important question here. Who is going to be on the show? I didn't mention who's going to be on the show besides Gila. We have coming up in just a moment Frank Milner and John Anthony Louis from Tutor Doctor. This is a company that has done some revolutionary work in their approach. They're up to, I think, over 100 franchise locations now internationally, including United States, Canada, and UK, I believe. So we're going to find out more about what they're doing. And then also later on the show, we have John Klotz, who's the president of Northwood Mortgage Life Insurance Corporation. Here's a guy who's got a lot of letters next to his name. He's going to give us some tips. We're going to be talking about issues for seniors in the financial sphere of things. So Gila, again, thank you very much for being with us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment with Frank and John from Tutor Doctor. Hang in there.